Vamos a empezar ahora, ¿sí? Primero les voy a pedir disculpas.
Well, firstly, I want to apologize. I am Argentinian and I speak some Spanish, not the best one, but I speak Spanish, but I've been in the US for many years, so I'm going to speak in Spanglish, and I hope you will excuse me because living in the US for 30 years has changed my life in many ways. My presentation is going to be very simple, and I'm going to tell you how it's going to be structured. Firstly, I'm going to describe what's going on in the market. But I will speak very briefly because I guess that you must already be tired and you have already realized that the changes are amazing. So I'm going to mention in passing a few points that I believe are important. And then we are not going to talk about what's happening, but of what we are doing and how we can build on what's going on, what are our tools, the main paths, and the points on which we must reflect when we think about capitalizing on all these changes. The message I want to convey, and hopefully you will keep it in mind during my presentation, is that although changes are deep, they are part of an evolution. It's things that we can obtain. These times are not calling us to destroy everything we've done, to start something from scratch. We are being called to make things evolve, the things that we already have, in order to capitalize on what we have already done. As we heard before, the world is changing. The buyers are changing. And we are in a world in which 70% of purchase decisions are made before someone calls a seller. And this is very important because it completely changes the dynamics of the various factors that help us do business. This is a very important point. And also the question of mobility has changed our relationship with companies as individuals and as entrepreneurs. At the moment, it is necessary to understand what customers want. And customers have much more weight. They've always had significant weight. They've always been important. But right now, customers have a much louder voice. And this is a very important point because we find ourselves in an environment in which Twitter, the social media, etc., are affecting the quality of our brands and the quality of our products, meaning the way in which they are perceived by the customers. Buyers are changing. They buy not only on the advice of colleagues or some knowledge they have about the products, but developers are acquiring a lot of power within companies, and this is a good thing and it benefits us all. But it's a very important point too, because the developer at the moment is the one that is directing some of these changes. If we think of how our businesses are affected by these changes, one of the greatest changes is that business decisions are made at the front line. They are made on the mobile phone. They are made in front of the client, not at the back office like before. Everything is going to the front line. We have extended the contact with the customer, and we've made it much more intimate and much more significant. Another fundamental point is the following. In the past, we had traditional processes that we clearly understood. process that helped us make business decisions. But right now things are much more complex. We have processes outside of the company, as we said before, that lead us to make us other decisions which are completely different. And all this affects the way in which you interact within the company, and also it affects the kind of software you develop. The third point is the ecosystem. More and more, and this is something that we learned a long time ago in IBM, you cannot be alone in this world. This is an interconnected world in which the ecosystem and the different vendors have to be together in order to push forward this whole movement. A few minutes ago, I heard the voice that said the client is promiscuous. Well, I don't think that's the case. We are going to have a cup of coffee and discuss this. I believe that the customer is intelligent. They choose not to be in a box, a predetermined box. They want to choose what's good for them. And this is an important point because this leads to the creation of an ecosystem around open systems, and this allows for a certain degree of flexibility that the customer is expecting at the moment. Nicolas, in the keynote, when he was describing the cloud transformation, spoke about more or less the same things. It's the same message, or a similar message. Our customers bought the idea of the cloud a long time ago from the point of view of effectiveness and optimization. This is something that people understand, but what we are seeing now is a deeper change, because there is a shift that goes from the thought of systems to contacts with customers, and then to systems of engagement, systems of relations with the customers that are changing too. When we start our conversations with our customers with regard to the cloud, it is very clear that from the start they envision the use of the cloud to transform their business. But the reality is that at the moment, that's not the only thing that we see. We also see how our customers are getting to the intelligent systems. The levels go up and up, as well as the demands that we see. And the cloud is the big driver that leads to all these advances. We know that all this is happening. How do we face these changes? The cloud can be envisaged in 3 dimensions. We have a basis, an infrastructure, which it is necessary to use. And we also talk about a platform, a digital innovation platform. And at the higher level, we have the cloud business applications. From a conceptual point of view, the reality is that this can be understood, but in practice it's more complicated, because we not only have these 3 levels, which we have to take into account every time we think about cloud applications, but these levels are mixing, and the dividing lines between each other are not so definite. There is a continuum between the infrastructure, the platform, and the applications as services. And some good examples. When you think about soft layering, what we are doing in IBM with soft layers is that we have a basis with OpenStart that lead us to talk about the platforms. And when we think about innovation as a platform, and we think about Bluemix, for example, in fact, Bluemix also has an infrastructure that is wholly connected. So it is a continuum, and it is important to think about this, because when you choose the infrastructure of the design of the applications that you are creating or using, it is important that you bear in mind this evolution, because this is going to change how you see the needs of the future and what you'll end up using. Two other points that are important in my opinion. One of them is the idea of an open cloud, the idea of open stack, supporting open services. This is a big connection that IBM has with Genexus. And it's not only good from the point of view of the community, and because it's a fundamental change with regard to the relations between the community and the environment, it's also intelligent from the point of view of businesses, because it gives flexibility to our customers. They can determine what they want to use, how to establish interoperability in the cloud, and also how to connect all these to the existing services in their own enterprise. I said before that this is not a revolution, it's an evolution. And hybrid systems are the ones that will prevail for many, many years. And this is a key element, because the coexistence of these elements determines how we are going to perform in the market. I've touched 2 points of designs, open designs and hybrid designs, and I'm going to say a bit more in regard of each one. In IBM, we started with Linux about 20 years ago, and made a study about the mainframe in Linux. This tells you how long it's been. But nowadays, when we think about the design in the cloud, we are actually putting everything that belongs to open source. Here you see Cloud Foundry, Docker, Node, Strong Loop, all our purchases, everything that we buy, the support that we are putting in the community, all this is related to the open source. And this is a big commitment that IBM has made, and that IBM shares with its partners. It's extremely important, this point of open source, in the evolution that we have at the moment in this market. With regard to the hybrid cloud, this is another point that sometimes is not explicitly mentioned in our conversations. The reality is that we're going to have the 3 systems that will coexist, not only in all of the systems that companies have nowadays, either private, public, on-premises. The reality is that even in the applications, these 3 aspects will coexist. Some parts are going to be in the public cloud, others in the private clouds, and others will be kept on the premise. So it's not only the infrastructure in an abstract way, but also the way the applications are going to be launched and put in operation in the enterprises. And this determines the developments you have to make, or how you have to make them. With regard to the infrastructure, Well, I promised that we were going to talk about the how we do things. When choosing an infrastructure, IBM is making an incredible investment, from the purchase of the soft layer to the pods everywhere. We now have one in Mexico, one in Brazil. Very soon we'll have one in India, and all this is very important in the design of applications. The fact of having local vision and also having a continuous vision of what you are developing. This is very important, and it's part of the choice that we make. When you choose soft layer, you have the capability of using the pod in which you want the various parts to be exposed. And you have the possibility of choosing, and this is part of the how we do it. So I can say I want a bare metal, I want it to be in a virtual infrastructure system, I want it in a private cloud, but there's one thing that I want for sure. I want security to be the same in any system I have. I want visibility to be the same. So there has to be a standard system that guarantees that level of control, visibility, security, etc. for the applications we are developing. And talking about developing applications, there is a phenomenon that, in my opinion, brings in the hybrid aspect, but in a lateral manner, how we develop applications. At the moment, there are two speeds that run simultaneously in the shops where they are developed. One is the traditional one, the traditional speed for the development of the records. It is slower, it's very much controlled, very structured. And whenever we make a change, this change has an incredible impact on the systems. Therefore, we have to go very slowly, do the tests, etc. It's a very long process. At the same time, if we want to manage innovation, we need a quick system. The systems of record can tolerate the slow system, but the systems of engagement have their own development speed. They have to be fast and efficient. They have to evolve constantly. We cannot wait 2 months to test something that we need to put in mobile. We have to test, we have to move, we have to test again, see how the market responds, go back. And this leads us to a different system for the development of applications. Traditional systems that were very good for record systems are not so good for innovation systems. When we think about innovation systems, we need a platform that brings together the infrastructure and the modules. It's a modular system that allows us to have services so that with a click we can put them in the applications, so that we don't need to start from scratch and develop all of the services. We can have the services which are already predetermined. In the case of IBM, we understood all these rather quickly, and we developed Bluemix on these premises. The developer must have a system that is intuitive and must learn quickly in order to develop applications. He must focus only on the development of applications and doesn't need to be reflecting or asking someone else to reflect on the deploy. When you finish making a development in Bluemix, you just press a key, and this goes straight to the infrastructure system. And the system will understand what you need in terms of infrastructure for this application in particular, and then you have the operating system and the server, everything you need to make all this run. So this is not something the developer has to worry about. It goes automatically because this is a function that the application already has embedded. So we are still discussing the how we push this ahead. In Bluemix, we have put services of Watson, like personality profile, from the word to the text, translation, and other services that allow you to do a search and put something in context and not through keywords, because all this is predetermined in Watson in Bluemix services. So just by using one of these tiles, you extract this power and you can include it directly in your applications. All this already exists. I was talking with one of the reporters, and they had like this sentence, the future exists today, you just have to know how to look for it. You need to understand what are the pieces that are determining the future, and this is one of them. This is one of the things that actually allow us to visualize and put into practice what we want, because at the end of the day, I'm a very practical person. This is something that allows you to do things. I wrote there personality inside, just to show you the level of complexity. And it sounds like astrology. When I was reading all of this, it reminded me of an astrology magazine. And you wonder how you use all this in business. And the fact is that it is fantastic for businesses, because with external information we can have a very clear vision of our buyer. And this has amazing value. And there are many companies that are using this system to do a profiling of the buying trends. This is very particular and very targeted. It is very much used in human resources so as to look for the right candidates. So it's not the resume anymore that we've all made, the resume or the CV, where there are always a few lies. Watson analyzes what's outside the resume, and with what's outside determines what the necessary skills are. So it's fabulous. You don't need to look at a resume. You can create a profile that is special for an application or whatever you need. With regard to the future that exists today, that's the Internet of Things. To give you an idea of the opportunities of the Internet of Things, we say now that by 2020 there will be the amount will be $14,000 trillion. Those are the possibilities of the Internet of Things, and this is just a few years in the future. So This makes us think how we can use all these Internet of Things. In Bluemix, we have a portfolio that allows the developer to use the Internet of Things directly. It's very easy to add these elements in the applications. In all these, the important aspects, since I don't want to give you the idea that it's just IBM, is that there are many partners, many vendors, and many people who work in Silicon Valley, and people who have different APIs. Well, all this is included in the work we are doing. I'm being told that I have to finish, so I'll try to speed up. A clear example of the Internet of Things. We did work with Silverhood, and I was stricken by two things. They came to us saying that these super fast boat races were very difficult because they have about 80 devices which are giving information to the captain by telemetry. But they don't receive any insight. They have the data, but it's very difficult to convert the data at that speed. It's just information they receive, but not insights. The other problem they have is that the fans, the people who follow this sport, get bored because when the boat is in the high seas, they don't know what's going on. So what we did with Bluemix, and we did also with partners, was to put all these together in order to create an insight system. And we did this in a few weeks. It didn't take months. This is a system of engagement at the end of the day. In a few weeks, it was running for the championship. And the 3D system was also used so as to offer the people who are following the races from the shore all this information that was turned into something that really got the fans excited. So there was speed and simplicity, and all this had an amazing impact on what they were doing. This is something that is very close to my heart because it's what I do every day. I honestly think that IBM has really backed cooperation with a lot of people. It is necessary to get the cooperation of accelerators who are helping startups to constantly innovate. We also need partnerships, and we are in touch all the time with developers' communities. We are making a big effort to help, on the one hand, developers' communities to evolve, and on the other hand, to learn, because they are also those that are teaching and guiding us in what we are doing. The academia is also very important because it helps us get the necessary skills. As students graduate from universities, it is very important that they become aware of everything we're discussing here so that they can really push forward the next innovations. And then the partner system, the ISVs, which are using this technology, the startups, how we work with them. All this is really the basis of what IBM is doing. So the partnerships are very strong. And this leads me to the work we are doing with GenXs. If you heard Nicolas and if you heard this presentation, you've seen points of contact, open source, the vision that there is a very big evolution in everything related to the cloud, and the combination of GeneXus with IBM is very successful. You probably know this very well, but we've been in partnership for more than 20 years, right? For more than 20 years, IBM and GeneXus have been working together, looking for innovations. So the moment is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's a moment in which, together, we can help the developers, the ISVs, and our customers to take advantage of all these changes. The future exists today, and the actions have to be taken today. And with this, I leave you, and thank you very much for your attention.